Let's talk about the Defender 110. It is a vehicle built for the modern explorer. Gretch, I have a friend who's extremely adventurous and she loves her Defender 110. It's a vehicle that looks tough because it is tough. The Defender boasts an exterior design for optimum durability. It has a raised hood and sculpted grille that give the Defender 110 a modern edge.
Yeah, it has 3D surround cameras with clear sight ground view that let you see underneath the vehicle and anticipate obstacles in rough terrain. Clear sight rear view offers an unobstructed rear view even when you can't see through the back window. Driver aid technologies make driving and parking simpler. Intuitive driver displays are customizable to your journey. Design your Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com. Visit LandRoverUSA.com to learn more about the Defender 110. Explore the Defender 110 at LandRoverUSA.com.
Lemonada.
Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast about how to make our lives happier. This week, we'll explore many super helpful parenting hacks from listeners and a Know Yourself Better question related to worry. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, secrets of adulthood, human nature. I'm in my little hot home office here in New York City, and joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister, Elizabeth Kraft. And Elizabeth, our parents are going to be with me for the 4th of July. I cannot wait.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer living in LA. And Gretch, I am very sorry to be missing out on your 4th of July fun with Mom and Dad.
Yes, I have decided to turn 4th of July into like a big family holiday. It's part of my new empty nest, evolving traditions. And it's also, the 4th of July is just such a great reminder that with everything going on, it's really good to take time to reflect on the highest ideals of our country.
Absolutely. It also happens to be our mom's birthday.
Yes, many reasons to pause and reflect and feel grateful. But before we jump in, a few updates.
Yes, this comes from Rachel. She says, our family's summer theme hit me like a lightning bolt yesterday. It will be the summer of public library video rentals. My kids recently started watching The Office via borrowed DVDs from the library. It's handy and I didn't have to pay for another streaming service. It rekindled the very fondest memories of borrowing VHS tapes from my hometown library. When I have not yet seen a movie that was a standard of the 80s or 90s, I always joke, haven't seen it, must not have been in the library's collection. This theme offers so much. It's nostalgic, it's free, the kids can use DVDs independently, no parental controls like we have on streaming. There is a natural break to DVDs, so we're less likely to accidentally binge watch something, and the shorter rental length for DVDs will put us in the door of our library more often. And it's just delightfully specific. When I announced it, my kids actually laughed out loud and said yes.
Oh, I love that. What a great idea. Another reason to use the library. We love it. One thing we've talked about recently is reminding everybody that here in the United States, Real ID is coming. And so we need to make sure that our IDs are Real ID compliant. And several listeners wrote in with stories about realizing that their ID was already Real ID compliant, but they didn't check before they headed to the DMV or before they took their mother to the DMV so she could get her Real ID. Different states have been rolling this out differently. You may have already magically done this without realizing it. So be sure to look before you go to the trouble to head to the DMV.
Yeah, I checked. Mine is not compliant. And I
Same
have had
here.
to use my passport at the airport.
I was really hoping that I had magically solved this, and I had not.
Gretch, here's a response to the listener whose husband was always asking her questions, and she found it irritating. Lisa said, when I was younger, I never understood this interaction that my mom and dad used to have. My dad would be peppering my mom with questions, and she would say in an exasperated tone, Eddie, pretend I'm not here. I used to think that was rude of my mom, but recently while on vacation with my questioner husband, I almost blurted out, pretend I'm not here. After receiving so many questions one morning, I finally understood my mom's behavior in that moment. Sometimes my husband needs a reminder that he can Google too.
Yeah, so this is hilarious. And it is a good reminder if you are a questioner that sometimes these questions can drain and overwhelm others. And if people are saying things like this, it's a good reminder. And this is also a lighthearted way to deal with that issue. And then this came from Joanne in response to our discussion about not disparaging something that's actually important to you. She wrote, years ago, I realized that it is important to me to have a cake and have people sing to me on my birthday. I explained this to my family, and now I always have a little celebration on my birthday, even if it is a Hostess cupcake. So that's good. Be clear about what you need, and then people can give it to you.
Yes.
And this week, our try this at home tip is try these parenting hacks from listeners. We got so many great parenting hacks, Elizabeth.
Oh my gosh, so many. Wonderful. But Gretch, you start us off. What are some of your favorite parenting hacks?
Okay, here's some of the ones that I did. So my daughters were really little, and we were in a store, and they saw things that they wanted me to buy, but that I didn't want to buy for them. I would say, oh, God, too bad. That thing isn't for sale. That's just for display. And they never questioned that. And similarly, if I said, well, this is for safety, somehow it had really gotten through to them that if something was for safety, it was just kind of a non-negotiable. And I think I threw that one around more than was really necessary. And then I also want to pass along this hack from my friend, Lisa. I thought this was so funny. So she gave my book, Secrets of Adulthood, to all 3 of her children on Mother's Day. And in the back, she wrote down her secrets of adulthood for each child, which was actually just like advice for each child. And if there's one thing that we know is we are not supposed to give our young adult children unsolicited advice. As she gave it to them, she said, I am asking for you to give me Mother's Day immunity so that I can give you this unsolicited advice. And they all graciously agreed. So I thought that that was a very clever way to introduce a little bit of whimsy, give it a funny name, and get your advice under the door.
That is so fun. And I really want to know what her advice was to each child, of course.
I know. Well, I'm seeing her this weekend. I'll ask her. That's a great question. I don't know why I didn't ask.
I need to know.
And how about you, Elizabeth? What is a parenting hack from you?
Well, Gretch, I never would have thought this would be my parenting hack, but it's get dogs, especially corgis, of course, because they're so darn entertaining. But they brought our family together right around these dogs. I think a household is so much more joyful with a dog.
Yes.
Even better, too.
Clearly, I took that advice from you, Elizabeth, now that we have 2 dogs. This comes from Rebecca. She says, we used to give my son choices whenever we could. One of the choices was, do you want to go to bed at 7:30 or 7:34?
That's funny.
Okay.
Similarly, Amanda said, turning a non-choice into a choice. At a restaurant, my husband would ask, do you guys want the kids' chicken and cheese quesadilla or the kids' chicken and cheese quesadilla? Without fail, the kids' chicken and cheese quesadilla.
I love that.
That's funny.
Delaney said, when my kids were younger and worried about having nightmares, I told them I could look in their ears to see if a bad dream was in their head. Usually it was all clear, but sometimes I said, "Ooh, I see one," and had them shake their head to get it out.
So cute.
That's very imaginative.
Laura said, when our daughter was in high school and started going out at night, she had a strict curfew. She would ask what the punishment would be if she were late. We told her she would find out if she was late. She was never late because she couldn't weigh the cost of punishment. Truth be told, we truly didn't know what the punishment would be.
I love that. I love that. Chrissy said, I added the term manager to any chore and it got done with less fuss. Please be electricity manager, meaning turn off all the lights before we leave. I love this. This is like adding meditation, like waiting in line meditation or bus stop meditation. It's like, are you the manager? I love it.
Yes. Suddenly, if you're the manager, you're the boss. And
Yeah.
so it's important that you do your boss duties.
Yeah.
Katie said, my kids were constantly leaving lights on, so I gave them each a roll of nickels. I then took 5 cents from them every time I discovered a light that they'd left on. Solved the problem for about 35 cents.
And then Katie said, this is a different Katie. Katie says, once my kids were complaining about eating their vegetables, so I let them each eat a few bunny grams and then told them the bunnies needed vegetables. They fed the bunnies in their tummies veggies for about 6 months before they started to question it. That's very funny.
Diana said, if my boys were too rowdy while I was driving, I just told them I would sing if they didn't settle down. Well, that would work in my case, too.
So me too, Elizabeth. This was one we could have definitely taken advantage of. Date says, cut the salami, cheese, whatever in half. Ask, do you want 1 piece or 2 pieces? Always 2 pieces. Made them happy. And this comes from Christine. For outside play in the front yard and driveway, we established the magic line near the street that the kids could never, ever cross on pain of what? Did we ever set consequences? Maybe not. At first, it was a line drawn with chalk. It morphed into Mama waving in the general direction of the magic line. And ultimately, I could throw a magic line anywhere in public just by shouting magic line. The kids would come to a screeching halt. It was 100% effective, probably still is. This just shows the power of the imagination, right? I love that.
It really does.
Yeah.
Megan said when they didn't want to change into pajamas for bedtime, tell them it's PJ fashion show time. They go to their room, get the PJs on, then play some music while they walk in the fashion show. Tell them you're going to think in your mind of which PJs they're going to pick. Then they put them on and you tell them if you got it right or not. Works for getting dressed in the morning, too.
I love this.
So creative.
Oh, my gosh. We could have like a whole special episode on bedtime hacks.
Yes.
Sarah said, I made a place for lost things, a bowl that held stray puzzle pieces, small figurines, accessories, etc. Find one on the floor, put it in the lost things bowl. Missing a piece, look in the lost things bowl. That worked so dang well, and then we moved, and now I need to set that up again because even with nearly teens, this would still be useful. This reminds me of my bowl of requirement, where everywhere we go, when we're at home or traveling, I have a bowl, and it's like sunglasses, AirPods, keys, spare change, a list that somebody made for the drugstore goes in the bowl of requirement. I love the idea of the bowl of lost things.
Yes, I do too. Natalie said, when my kids were little, a phrase I found myself uttering was, that's the rule. I don't make the rules, but we have to obey them. The rule could be after school snacks must contain at least 1 fruit or vegetable or some other parenting thing. My kids never questioned it.
This is interesting because I wonder if you had rebel children or questioner children, if this would not work, or if there's something about childhood where they kind of are more rule reverent. I don't know, but I think this is one that it might work very well with some children, but for other children, it could really backfire spectacularly. Interesting.
Yeah, I would say that with the doctor. I would say it's what the doctor said. I have no opinion on it, but the doctor said that you have to eat more vegetables.
It's for safety, that sometimes there are these things that for children have no special weight. Betsy said, if the date ended in an odd number, then it was number 1 child's turn for whatever they bickered over. If the date ended in an even number, it was number 2 child's turn. There's a heuristic, even odd, and it settles things in a very fair way.
Love that. Mandy said, with the tooth fairy, I would ask my kids to give me the tooth to wrap in foil, and I would use several layers to securely wrap it. Only I would wrap the money and pocket the tooth. They never noticed. Then I would tell them to hide the tooth anywhere they wanted. They also set booby traps. I never had to wait for them to fall asleep.
I mean, this is really ingenious. This is like what illusionists use, right? They swap it out and you never know. Love it.
Clever.
Catherine says, don't try to make a happy baby happier. And that's along the same lines of don't replace fun with fun. If it's working, don't get in there and try to improve things. Very good advice.
Yes. Scarlett said, our young adult children still have their treasured loveys from babyhood. One of the first things we did when we observed how bonded they were to a favorite stuffy was to make sure we had multiple copies of each one just in case one was lost or left behind in an airplane. We still talk about how my husband sprinted across the airport to retrieve Bunny when he was left on the plane. I can't believe he actually convinced the gate attendant to allow him back on the plane to retrieve it.
We've all done it.
I did that with Jack. I had 5 of his little blankies that he loved, and we still have them, floating around the house.
Side note, I had never until very recently heard the term stuffy.
I think it's relatively new.
That just emerged onto the scene for me. Okay, yeah, great suggestion. Yes, you're living on the edge if you just have one of that very special thing. Lindsay said, when things are challenging, tell yourself it's probably just a phase. We're not doing anything wrong. When things are going well, tell yourself, wow, we must be doing a really great job. Contradictory? Maybe, but it's been a very effective survival strategy for me. I'd also like to share some not so great advice I received from a well-meaning friend when my first child was a newborn. Don't read any parenting books, she said. Mothering is instinctual. You'll know what to do. Well, guess what? I did not know what to do. I felt completely out of my depth from day one. I found it immensely empowering when I finally decided to intentionally seek out resources and educate myself. There is so much to learn from the experience and expertise of others, and I am still able to use my ever-developing mothering instincts to pick and choose what I feel is right for my family. So this is a great example. Know yourself. Do what's right for you. There's no one right way. An approach that might have worked really, really well from her friend didn't work for her.
It's also an example of how somebody says something and it just gets stuck in your head.
Yes.
Like you just have this idea
Yeah.
that you shouldn't read books just because one person said that.
No, and we say these things without realizing like how much power they might have in someone's mind.
Yes.
Maybe your friend wouldn't have said something so absolute if she'd realized how much it would have stuck.
Yeah. Fiona says, read aloud to your child. I cannot stress this enough. I worked in a public library for 20 years and did story time for parents and babies and for older children. Start reading to your child the day they are born or even in utero. Don't stop. Many parents stop reading aloud when their child is in grade 2 or 3 because they have learned to read on their own. Don't do it. Continue to read aloud until they are 12, 15, even older. Try family reading time. When your child is old enough to read, have a family time when you all read together. Children need to see adults reading. You are a role model for your child.
This is great, great advice. And it's so fun. It's such a wonderful way to bring people together. So love that. April said, my parenting tip I give new parents is to keep a notebook or journal on your nightstand and each night before bed, jot down some fun experiences from the day. When my kids were little and would say or do cute things, I would record them this way. Now, when I look back at the journals, I'm shocked at how much I don't actually remember, and I'm glad to have it written down so I can keep the fun and silly memories alive. Well, this is one of the ways people use my one-sentence journal.
Yes.
Is they devote it to just fun family memories for exactly this reason.
Sandra said, the best advice I ever received was from a preschool teacher. When I was tying my son's shoelaces one afternoon, she came over and lovingly whispered in my ear, never do something for your child that he can do for himself. I still use that advice and my kids are in their 30s. That's funny.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this with Project Empty Nest. It's something that we have to keep in mind forever.
Well, I know we tried to get mom to order our plane tickets for well past the necessary time.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I still would if I could. Amanda said, the two best pieces of parenting advice that I was given are, first, be there for the transitions. By that, I mean the times when your child is going from one place to another. So drop off and pick up from school, the talk before bedtime, pick them up from the bus or the flight or the friend's house or camp. These times are much more important than being with them in the new location once they're there. I thought that's interesting. And number two, if you're lucky, you get them until they are about 12 years old. Then you need to start granting more autonomy. Not completely, of course, but many parents completely miss this time frame.
Good advice. And finally, Gretchen, here's a parenting hack that includes whimsy. Tammy said, always have lots of food coloring on hand. It is fun for all ages and washes out of most things. We've used it for tie-dyeing, watercolor painting, science experiments, homemade Play-Doh, card making, and more. It has provided hours of screen-free entertainment for my children and me. I know you are a huge fan of food coloring, Gretch.
Man, I dye food at the drop of a hat anytime I can think of an excuse. I love food dye. So let us know if you do try any of these hacks. Which of these parenting hacks worked for you? And if you have more, we're still gathering them up. Cannot get enough. Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Drop us an email at podcast@gretchenrubin.com. Or as always, go to the show notes. Go to happiercast.com/541 for everything related to this episode.
Coming up, we've got a great hack for summer. But first, this break. Gretch, I used to have 2 cats. I love them so much. And I wish that when I had them, Small's Cat Food was around. Small's Cat Food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free ingredients you'd find in your fridge, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Small's their best overall cat food. Here's a review from a real Small's customer. Jennifer M. said, after every feeding, he gets this burst of energy and starts running around the house, and his fur is softer and more vibrant with higher contrast. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend anything else.
And now you can add other cat favorites like amazing treats and snacks to your Smalls order. What are you waiting for? Give your cat the food they deserve. For a limited time only, because you are a Happier with Gretchen Rubin listener, you can get 60% off your first Smalls order plus free shipping by using our code Gretchen. That's 60% off when you head to smalls.com and use promo code Gretchen. Again, that's promo code Gretchen for 60% off your first order plus free shipping at smalls.com. Elizabeth, I mean, I think these days we all know that feeling of just being buried under nonstop meetings and struggling to remember what was discussed. What were the next steps we all agreed to? Fireflies is the AI teammate that can keep track of it all. From key takeaways to next steps, Fireflies can keep us organized with no more missed details or forgotten follow-ups. Fireflies is the #1 AI teammate that transcribes, summarizes, and analyzes your conversations so you can get the most out of every meeting. It's the smarter way to work, helping you understand what was said, generate personalized notes, find information, take actions on next steps, and develop workflows to create internal efficiencies.
It seamlessly integrates with the tools you and your team already rely on, with integrations across more than 60 different apps like Zoom, Google Meet, Slack, and more. And right now, when you sign up for a yearly Fireflies subscription, you get your first 2 months free. Just go to fireflies.ai/happier. That's right, 2 months free when you go to fireflies.ai/happier. That's fireflies.ai/happier.
And now we're back for a happiness hack, and this comes from Jennifer.
She says, I wanted to share a simple tip that made a big difference in our house and might be helpful for your listeners as summer travel ramps up. My husband and son are heading out on a 10-day backpacking trip in New Mexico this summer. Over the past few months, we've been ordering gear, digging supplies out of storage, and gathering paperwork. And things started piling up all over the house. We had papers and a first aid kit on the kitchen counter, a backpack in a bedroom corner, and no real sense of what we had or still needed. I had the idea to grab a large, unused Rubbermaid bin from the garage and designated it as our prep station. If it was for the trip, it went in the bin. That one small change helped us stay organized, track what we had, and eliminated the clutter and constant questions like, did that thing we ordered ever arrive? We'll definitely use this strategy for future trips that require special gear or planning. It brought order, peace of mind, and a little burst of happiness. That is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I have to say, when we were planning our trip to England, our hiking trip, in the end, I started using Eliza's room and putting everything on her bed. But I did it sort of without thinking about it. And I wish that I had done it much more purposefully like this. Even things like my passport or book that I knew I wanted to take, because it just eliminates the decision fatigue of running around the apartment, gathering it up and having to track the fact that you need to have it.
Yeah, I did that with our guest room bed. I put all of my gear for England on that. And I remember when Sarah and I were going to Puerto Rico for months, for weeks, had like 2 big suitcases in the guest room. And every time I thought of something that I needed, I would just put it in there and then I organized it all at the end.
Yeah, it just makes everything so much simpler to keep track of. And now for a know yourself better question. Now, I've been thinking about this question in the context of the empty nest, because I'm thinking so much about the empty nest, which I'm also calling the open door stage of life. It actually comes up over and over throughout our lives in a lot of different contexts. And this is the question to ask yourself. If you are worried about something, in your desire to manage your own worry, are you burdening someone else with your worry? Or are you even trying to control them because you are trying to manage your worry?
Yeah, this is a very profound question, Gretchen. This could really change lives.
Yeah. It's sort of hard to articulate it clearly, but here's an example of where I saw this. And this example has stayed in my mind for years. It sort of haunted me. It was a Wall Street Journal article, and it was, I don't know what it was talking about, like aging parents or something like that. And there was an anecdote where a daughter was explaining that she had prevailed on her 80-year-old father to quit driving. And she said, well, I was just so worried. And the expert said to her, well, now you have less worry, but you have taken away something very important from him. And in this case, there had been no evidence that the father's driving was at all affected. So she had really just wanted him to stop driving because she didn't want to worry about it. And this also comes up with children. I was talking to somebody who was saying how she keeps a really close watch over her daughter, who's in her mid-20s, to make sure that she was commuting safely to and from work and that she came home late at night if she was out. And so this mother was checking Find My on the phone, so she was doing location tracking, and she was also texting and calling. And the daughter was saying, like, hey, this is too much. I need more space. I don't need this. And the mother said, well, I see her point of view, but the thing is, I worry, and she's not respecting that. But so, yes, the mother is worried, but the constant checking isn't making the daughter safer. At that point, isn't that the daughter's worry to manage? The mother wants reassurance. She wants her worries to be managed. But in order to do that, she's sort of trying to curtail what her daughter does. And sometimes it's appropriate for people to help us manage our worries. But then I think sometimes it can become too much. And it's hard to know that about ourselves.
Yeah, I think even asking yourself the question is a big step. It wouldn't even occur to many of us that our worry might be a burden to someone else and an unfair burden.
Yes.
For sure, with the mom and daughter, the daughter needs to be able to live her life and not be worried about getting home and texting her mom when she's 25 years old.
Yeah.
And I do think technology probably has made this more of an issue because we can communicate. I mean, I remember when Eliza was a freshman, she would text you all the time. Well, we never could do that with our parents. You know, it's just a totally different dynamic.
Yes. The more you can monitor, I think people then feel like they have a duty to monitor.
Yes.
And I also think that there is this superstitious feeling that's very powerful, which is, I will protect you with my worry. That by worrying you, my worry itself is a form of spiritual protection. And if I don't worry, maybe I am being remiss, that there is a responsibility to worry. But the problem is it can have these really negative consequences on someone else. I saw this story on social media, just like a question posted from a mother in a group where she was saying, okay, my son, he's thrilled. He got into his dream medical school. He's moving all the way across the country. He's really excited. But she, the mother, was frantic with worry because if there were a nuclear attack,
oh my goodness,
he was in a place that was at very high risk to be hit. And she said, well, you know, he told her, like, well, if he had to reapply, his dreams would be on hold and his future wouldn't be certain. But she was very, very stressed out and she was trying to decide what to do. And so her worry comes from this loving desire to protect him. But the fact is, she can't really protect him. If there was a nuclear attack near him, there would be many, many people would be trying to deal with that.
Yeah.
And this worry could create a lot of issues for him. Like if it were intense enough, he might change his plans to mollify her. That could derail him from the path he set for himself, or he might pull away from her.
Yes.
Because he can't manage that anxiety. He doesn't want, if he feels like, oh, if I follow my dream, my mother is going to be frantic. It's like, well, I can change what I'm doing or I can not talk to my mom.
Yes. No, it can really take you down a bad road.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy to do this.
Yeah, I think
it is. I know I could be guilty of it for sure.
Well, and I remember a friend of mine had cancer and beat it. And then she got cancer again. And that is not good. You don't want to be getting it again. And she beat it again. Everything is fine. So happy ending. But she was telling me that she's very, very close to her mother. But her mother was so distraught the second time that she said, like, I really could not be in communication with my mother. I had to manage myself, my husband, my 3 children. I just didn't have anything left over for her. And so it was very poignant to me that at this time when she probably really needed her mother's worry really put this wedge between them. Now, we don't always have control over our emotions. Like, you can't just say, like, well, now I'm not going to worry and turn it off.
Yeah.
But it is this know yourself better question, because with the daughter that was saying, like, I need more space, it's like, if people are saying this, you need to understand, like, what are they responding to? Or if someone's saying, you need to stop doing this, and you're like, but I feel like what I'm doing is perfectly safe, you are just worried. I don't know that I need to change my actions. Again, it's to understand this dynamic.
Yeah. It's a really interesting question. I'd love to hear from people if they
Yes.
look at themselves and suddenly realize, oh, wow, I've been doing this, and if they can stop.
Yeah, no, what are the contexts it comes up in, and how do people manage it? Or have they experienced someone else's worry? Like, I think it would be very interesting to hear from both sides of that. Yeah, so let us know, what is your experience with this? It's really a fascinating subject.
Coming up, Gretchen has a demerit related to her summer of Sundoku. But first, this break. Meet JLab, headphones and speakers as vibrant as your summer. Beach days, workout sessions, or chill moments, find the perfect sound with JLab. JLab's colorful collection has something for every summer adventure and every moment. Think headphones and speakers in fresh summer colors with features you actually want for beach workouts, poolside chilling, or sunset jamming sessions.
They have so many great products. I mean, the one that I really, really love is the J-Buds Mini. These are little tiny earbuds. They fit on your keychain. I carry mine with me everywhere. They come in fresh mint green, sage, ocean aqua, bright pink, or sleek black. I have the black. They're smaller than a coin, perfect for small ears and for summer pockets. Plus, they have their summer speaker series from pocket size to party size. The JLab Party Speaker Series brings powerful sound to any summer gathering. Look for the blue box at retailers everywhere or shop jlab.com and use code HAPPIER for 15% off your order today.
Hey, Julia Louis-Dreyfus here. If you listen to me on my Wiser Than Me podcast, you probably already know that I'm an investor and an evangelist for the Mill Food Recycler. There are a lot of reasons to love Mill, but for me, it's all about the impact. Keeping food out of the garbage is one of the most powerful things we can do to help the planet every single day. We're talking banana peels, carrot tops, old takeout. When that stuff heads to the landfill, it becomes a huge driver of climate change. If you already compost, great. But of course, there's the smell, the flies, the running to the curb every day with a little leaking compost bag made of cornstarch. That's where Mill comes in. It makes keeping food out of the trash as easy as dropping it in. It can handle nearly anything, from a turkey carcass to like 20 avocado pits. It works automatically while you sleep. You can keep filling it for weeks, and it never, ever smells. Mill makes dry, nutrient-rich grounds that you can use in your garden, add to your compost, feed to your chickens, or Mill can get them back to a small farm for you. But you kind of have to live with Mill to really get it, and that's why they offer a risk-free trial. Go to mill.com/wiser for an exclusive offer.
All right, Gretch, we're back with demerits and gold stars, and it's your turn this week for a demerit.
Okay, so I'm saying I have my summer of Sundoku. It's the summer of Sundoku, which is I have vowed that this summer I'm only going to read off my shelves. I'm not going to buy new books, and I'm not going to check out books from the library. I'm only just going to read what I have because I have so many great books that I want to read. So, Elizabeth, I give you one guess. What do you think my demerit is?
I think you bought a book.
Oh, I bought many books and I have checked out many books from the library. I just can't resist because here's the thing. I'm afraid I'll forget about it, right? I feel like I don't want to create some long list because then I can never remember. So I'm like, oh, I'll just buy it. Or like a friend had a book come out. I'm like, well, I want to buy it now because if I buy it later, I want to like sort of be on the record as having bought it.
Yes.
And then I'm like, well, it's a library book. Or if it's related to the empty nest, I'm like, well, that doesn't count because that's research. So
it's hard.
But I am only reading books that I already own and also one's related to the empty nest because that's research, but the shelves are not getting there is no space opening up on those shelves.
It's a problem. I'm empathetic. I do think buying your friend's book, now that's a must do.
Okay. The list of exceptions has been growing.
It's getting longer.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good problem to have. I'm not working as efficiently through the shelves as I expected. But Elizabeth, what is your gold star?
All right, Gretch, I am giving what I'm sure is a repeat gold star to the Libby app, Libby. Speaking of reading, this is a library app where you can check books out of the library on your phone and you can check out audiobooks. You know I love an audiobook.
You love an audiobook.
When I discovered Libby, it changed my life. You can have maybe up to 15 or 20 books on hold. I mean, sometimes there's a long wait. You can check out several books at once. You get them for 3 weeks. I absolutely love it. The reason I wanted to do a repeat gold star is because just recently I've mentioned it to a few people who had not heard of it.
Hmm.
And one of them texted me the next day and said, "Oh my gosh, I just checked out my first book from Libby. Life changed."
Mm.
So I want to make sure people are aware of it. Now, not everybody has access to Libby, but there's other library apps. So
Yeah.
if you look it up, you can find what is in your town, but a
Yes.
lot of people have Libby.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because since it's tied to the library system, it is tied to your location. Yeah, Libby has huge coverage, but there are other ones that cover other places. So yeah, it's not hard to figure out. Yeah, that's so exciting. Libraries, can we just say it? Libraries are amazing.
Yes.
The resource for this week. I have launched a new project on Substack called Secrets of Adulthood. But Alyssa, you have your Substack. Now I have my Substack, partly inspired by your Substack. So let's take a minute and tell people what Substack is. Just like some people have never heard of Libby, some people have not heard of Substack yet.
Yeah. So Substack is a platform, I would call it, where you can sign up for newsletters, and there's usually a free subscription, and then you can upgrade to paid if you want more. What's great about Substack is it also has the ability to chat threads. It has something called Notes, which is essentially like Twitter, which is really fun. What I say about Substack is that it's very much about ideas and information and less about sort of catching up with high school friends.
Yes.
It's much more based on ideas.
Yes. Well, I think you and I were both drawn to it, and Sarah as well, your writing partner, because it's very writerly and readerly. And yet there's a lot of creativity you can bring to it. And there's all kinds of people writing all kinds of things. So whatever you're interested in, there's a lot to find there. You can read it through your email, like as an email newsletter, or they have an app, the Substack app. I really like the app. I know a lot of people who don't use the app who just use it through email, but it's nice to have the option. You can pick what works for you. So in my Substack, which is called Secrets of Adulthood, I am sharing reflections and teaching stories. You know, I love a teaching story about happiness, human nature, self-knowledge. You know, my whole life I've been collecting aphorisms, proverbs, fables, paradoxes, koans, all kinds of teaching stories. And I am so excited because now I have the perfect place to put them and share them and write them myself, just like I wrote my own Secrets of Adulthood. I've been thinking, like, maybe I should try to write a fable, the kind of fable that has animals in it, you know, like an Aesop's fable. It's actually surprisingly hard. I've not written a fable yet, but stay tuned. And I will also be using it to hold live conversations with other writers and thinkers about their own secrets of adulthood. This is a really fun thing you can do on Substack, is have live conversations. Elizabeth, you guys do this every week on Happier in Hollywood.
Yes, we answer a question every Saturday from a listener live on Substack. And we also share a lot of writing tips, and we demystify Hollywood. So sign up for the Happier in Hollywood Substack, please.
And or sign up for the Secrets of Adulthood Substack. They're both fun to read. And speaking of reading, when we're not reading Substack, Elizabeth, and we're not listening to audiobooks from Libby, what are we reading? What are you reading or listening to?
I am reading Climbing in Heels by Elaine Goldsmith Thomas.
And I am reading A Man Called Ova by Frederick Bachman. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. Try these parenting hacks. Let us know if you tried them and if they worked for you.
Thanks to our executive producer, Chuck Reed, and everyone at Lemonada. If you haven't subscribed to Lemonada Premium yet, now's the perfect time, because guess what? You can listen completely ad-free. Just tap that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or head to lemonadapremium.com to subscribe on any other app. That's lemonadapremium.com. Don't miss out.
And here's your rhyming reminder. If you like the show, tell others you know.
Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Kraft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward. Elizabeth, I think one of the best parenting hacks from our parents is the way they would always pay for us to be together when we were young adults. They would buy the plane ticket or the train ticket so that we could always see each other.
Yes, that definitely made us see each other more than we would have.
Absolutely. From the Onward Project.